Hi and welcome to Labour Lento. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's episode of the program, we have interesting news stories for you. We'll also be discussing about the need for us to have a safe and conducive work environment for women. We will be right back.
Solidarity forever.
These are workers of the National Union of Food, Beverages and Tobacco Employees. The leadership of the union is concerned about the welfare of its members at Deli Foods following reports that the company is about to shut down and stop operations in Nigeria.
In a struggle for our members.
We continue to orient our members. We charge them to duties on how to ask for their rights. Any member that belongs to National Union of Food can never be marginalized, because by the time they meet their management, they will still need to come back to the headquarters to feed us back.
About 300 workers will be out of job if the company, which has been operating for more than 20 years in the country, is shut down. Leaders of the union reaffirmed that they will ensure that there is decent work in the food sector.
Solidarity forever. Give it to yourself.
Decent work, we continue to fight for it, because we know many companies or many industry in Nigeria, they are not doing what's meaningful. So we, as a union, we will continue to fight for decent work, and we know we will achieve it by God's grace. Somebody cannot work for you for years, and after a year working for you, more than a year, you will let them to go like that. You need to pay them what due to them.
Though the management of the Deli Foods company has debunked the insinuation made by Labour that the company is about to be sold to another corporate organization, one thing is for sure here, the Labour leaders are not taking anything to chance. They want to ensure that the severance packages meant for workers of Deli Foods is being reinstalled and renegotiated into the salaries payments that they've been having for more than 12 years. The United Nations believe that when more women work, economies grow. The organization also stresses that when women's paid employment rates are raised to the same level as men's, the society will be better for it. For many years, there have been reports of women relieved from paid jobs because they were put in a family way or are nursing a child. Janet Takpeton is a middle-aged woman who once worked with a popular financial institution. She was a working-class woman for more than a decade before she was forced to resign because she did not have an enabling environment to work and nurse her children.
You know, there is rule and regulation. Even if you are married, there is numbers of years that you have to work before you can be pregnant. And even if you are pregnant, you cannot get another pregnant within a year. You have to wait for like 2 or 3 years. So if the moment you are pregnant the following year, you are out of the system. And the moment you are even pregnant before that 3 years period, you are also out of the system. So you have to wait for 3 years after you are married. And even if you are married, you have to let them know that you are married.
To cope this ugly trend by some employers of labor who do not encourage women to attain their full potential, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA's network of entrepreneurial women, rolled out an advocacy campaign. The body is using this to challenge employers to encourage optimal infant and young child feeding practices in the workplace.
The feedback is we have some people that are friendly with having a crèche within the organization. Others are not friendly about it at all. In fact, it's not within their plan at all. And we see that is something that we need to create in terms of awareness, such that organizations can make it easy for women. We are women, and we can't change who we are.
Mothers have to resume after 3 months. There's that space. They can come to work with the babies, knowing that your baby is just a few minutes walk or seconds walk away from you would even increase productivity for the mother. She's not worried about, oh my goodness, how's the nanny feeding my baby? Has baby run out of milk?
We're pushing for it that as key providers, now let me put it that way, who can actually push for this, it will be very good if this is taken into consideration, and it will spill through the economy.
The NECA Director General and other employers' organizations spoke on the development.
Every organization, there are members of NECA, to introduce creche in the workplace. Delineate a particular place, give them space where they also have caregivers for children, manning the places, where mothers will have peace of mind of bringing their children to the office, keep them in the creche, and be able to work peacefully, knowing fully well that their kids are safe and doing well in the creche, which is just nearby and within the same work area. Then, we also encourage employers of labor to give lactation break, breastfeeding break to the mothers who are workers.
Because of the challenges of survival and living, especially among career women, among working women, we need to make it as comfortable as possible for them to be able to combine their work and the upbringing of the children. Because when you say that the society has issues, when we have social problems, part of the major reasons is the quality of upbringing. And if the struggle for survival crowds out quality of upbringing, you have a problem as a society.
Janet Akwiton, who is now a businesswoman, wants implementation of policies to protect women against discrimination in the workplace. She believes that an inclusive workplace culture for women will benefit everyone.
It is very, very important. It will help the mothers that are working to be more productive. Now it will help in bonding. The child and the mother will stay for that 8 hours in the office. You know, mothers are supposed to feed, 6 months compulsory breastfeeding. Now, for us to achieve the 6 months, and the government is giving them 3 months. Now, while the other 3 months, what happens to the baby and what happens to the mother? So in the past, we have lost a lot of women as they are shuttling to feed their babies, and we have so many women have been retrenched. Others have died on the road because of running here and there, and so often we get information that they don't even concentrate. And what do you expect? And when these creches are in the workplace, these women will have the bonding. They can always step out, see, attend to the babies and come back to the office.
The workplace remains a place that both men and women can contribute what they know best. The women over the years have really shown that they can do almost every kind of work, and they have resisted discrimination, and they continue doing the work. If the workplace have all that is needed for a woman to be able to play the role of a mother, a wife, and a staff, why not? We have evidences around that women come, they have finished preparing their children for school, they still make the workplace on time, they contribute their quota. Even those of them that just put to bed, bring their children, keep them. As in NLC today, we have a crèche where so many women keep their children, go to work, take time, 30 minutes to come and breastfeed their children 2 times in a day. And they have been very productive.
It is very important in any organization where you have women. In fact, it is a policy that where you have up to 5 women working, you must have a crèche in that place. And what's the importance of this crèche is both for the mother and the child. So it's both for maternal and child care needs. And this is important for working mothers because all the productive years of women are put at work. When they retire, they have also reached menopause and they are not also giving birth to children, so they don't need the crèche. But while they are working, they need the crèche, so that they can breastfeed their children. Because like we've always said, the maternity leave is not sufficient. The maternity leave is between 3 months to 4 months, depending where you are working, whether private or public. And then there is a policy which says 6 months exclusive breastfeeding for children. That is, at least it can be more. So how do you feel in what of the deficit of 2 months and other things? And apart from that also, once a mother knows that her child is safe, she will put in a best at work.
And any employer that is against such thing, that is, you are depriving women not to breastfeed their baby at workplace, you are also depriving yourself in the future production, because those babies are going to be future workers. And when we have crèches in our offices, it also helps, because as a mother, when you are on duty, you are able to breastfeed your baby at a regular interval. It doesn't mean that the job will suffer, but we are preparing for future, because they are the future workers, they are the future leaders. So I don't think there's any way breastfeeding at the workplace affects production.
On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the country director, Action Aid, who was one of the pioneering staff of the Nigerian Labour Congress. She tells me for us to have an inclusive work environment is of utmost importance for employers of labour, be it private or the public sector, to encourage women's reproductive health. It's good to have you on the program.
Nice to have you too.
With your level of experience handling women issue, labour sector, I would like you to expatiate the need for us to have a workplace that is inclusive. When I say inclusive, it means meeting the needs of women in the offices, be it formal or informal.
Okay, I want to say that, from the Action Aid perspective, we do care about the women at workplace, and we take care because there is a social corporate responsibility, or corporate social responsibility rather, about investment, in the woman. Issues of rights, human rights at the workplace. A woman, having a family-friendly environment at the workplace is a contribution to the society. A woman should not be made to be responsible because she's going to have a child, to be made responsible for the child. A duty of reproduction is for the people, for continuing humanity. And so it's a responsibility, it's an investment into the human capital. And so for us, we are responsible for the woman and the child from birth. Birth, of course, you have the maternity leave, and then we also have paternity leave, because the men have to spend a couple of, I think that's goes for 10 days to spend at home doing the runs and so on. But for the woman, after spending her 4 months at home, she'll be able to come back. For Action Aid, we have 4 months. And then she'll be able to come back with her baby because of the exclusive breastfeeding, also to make sure that the life of the child is not in jeopardy. We provide experienced minders for the crèche. We have a crèche at the office. And then, because Action Aid is a travel organization, you have to go anywhere, you go within the country and also outside the country. And we support these women for 18 months of the life of the child to make sure that they can take care of their children. They can also do their own work while they are at peace. And I think is a lot of experience that comes in handy, because you give the woman peace, she gives her best. So even when you are working, you have to be able to look at that. So we need to connect with other workplaces. What is the need for us? Why should Action Aid do that? Why should other workplaces do that? And that is because continuing the population, is a responsibility of the entire country. Some countries are having problems today because they feel, you know, some of them don't want to have children anymore. There is a lot that goes to, you know, having children. You have to create time. You need to look after the children. And some people, even some countries, the Scandinavian countries, they give 1 year holiday for the mother. And you are catered for completely, because they believe that without the workforce, they cannot survive the way they are going. And so I think it's something that the workplace, everywhere. I know that the NLC have a creche, but we need to move beyond that. Every workplace needs to be family friendly. There are some people that when they see a woman with a child, they hate that. They really hate that, because it's like you are being a nuisance. But if you were not a child one time, you wouldn't be an adult today. So how do we continue the population? Many countries have decided to step up that by being responsible for the children and providing food for the children and providing the areas where you have to cater for the children. And so we need to step up the game, or step up our commitment, both at the workplace and also, you know, family friendliness, because of the unpaid care work that women do. They work at home, they work, you know, in the office, and then they still have to go back home and work. And motherhood is a 24-hour responsibility. You don't have breaks.
From my observations in the labor sector or in the labor circle, we have some particular sector that are corporate to not ensuring a friendly environment for a nursing mother, most especially, or for women. For example, in the banking sector, we have so many banks maybe putting an embargo. Even in the police force, I don't know if it's changed. We have so many sectors generally that for you to even enter into the system, probably for some few years you don't get to have a child, or if you're going to have children, you have to take turns. What laws do we have in place, especially from the international organizations that are concerned with workers' rights, and which maybe Nigeria is also a party to, or is also a member country to these organizations? So my concern is what can be done in terms of advocacy to ensure that people comply, or corporate organizations do comply.
Thank you very much. I think, you know, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, you know, has done a lot of work. You know, it carries a lot. Nigeria ratified, but they have not domesticated up to now. We need to look at the laws. Are they at variance? What are such laws, the banking laws? We need to engage with it. We have NUBIVE, which is a national union, you know, for the bankers sector, and then we have ASBIFI. If there is a law like that that is challenging to the young people, and that's today we are talking of the youth, they are the future of tomorrow. If people are not getting married, or women, male and female, you know, young people are not interacting with each other, there won't be a future. And so if there are laws that are now pulling down to say you have to have 2 years, you have to sign a memorandum, I think Labour has taken time to try to look at that, but we need to look more. Which are the banks that are promoting such, you know, things? The leaders of the banks were youth one time. If their mother was given time to say you don't produce now or something, because you can have secondary infertility if you go into a marriage and you say, no, I have to wait for some time, because the woman have a time lag, you know, a timing to everything. And if you don't have children in time, you know, if you are not having children on time, you can also lead yourself to become a danger. By the time you have late, you know, pregnancies, it can become a danger zone. And so for the laws, the international laws, labor laws that we have, it guides you that there must be no discrimination. But when we are coming down to what we're looking at in the country, we need to study more, and I think that's an assignment for the Women Commission to also push, because you have the labor that controls, labor unions that are controlling that side. If there is an issue, people need to know, and then we can amplify it. But, you know, normal laws does not encourage discrimination. There must be no discrimination. So whatever they are doing it it's not in good faith, and people should report it. But sometimes when you report, who wants to go and challenge? You know, sometimes you are not getting those who are making the report to be able to take it up. And I think that's something that we can amplify. As a woman, I will fight and struggle for that. If there are issues that we have a report on, we should be able to take it up and hold them responsible, because the bank is also responsible. If we don't have children today, who will be the banker of tomorrow?
And so what do you think can be done, or what does it take for an average company, parastatal ministry to have a space for a nursing mother to breastfeed? What do you think, what does it take to ensure that there's a crèche or an after-school services so that the women can actually perform optimally in the workplace?
Yeah, I think labor needs to engage establishments, employers association, they need to engage them. They need to have the national policy that encourages the building of crèche at the workplace, that gives them that corporate social responsibility to be able to meet their own demands in the human capital development and human capital investment as well. It needs to be everybody's responsibility, because if you want workers for tomorrow, we need to have the population for today. Women need to give birth. If I'm going to replace myself, giving birth already, I think I have replaced myself because I have children, you know. So between, you know, you and the man in your life, you have replaced society, but society needs to have its own role and needs to take up the responsibility. And the companies need to be, you know, there will be advocacies, you know, we need to be able to engage them, because when you are not engaging people, you really don't know their reactions. People need to be sensitized about, because I have had the time that I had a child at one time in my office, they planned for me and make sure that I brought the child to the office. And my child was in the office for 8 months. You know, in my own office, I thought at first, it wasn't me begging for it. I thought at first that they wanted to see how incapable I can be or something. When they insisted that I must bring the baby to the office, I had to buy a cot at home and a cot in the office. And I'm telling you, this organization gave me the best in terms of who I am, in terms of having to make sure that my baby is okay, you know. And I gave that organization my best, because I was relaxed. I could breastfeed the baby when I wanted. I can travel with the baby, and I can go anywhere. You know, I felt loved. And that made it to, you know, my energy, my innovation was at its peak. I did what I could, and that project was one of the best projects.
So what do you think can be done to ensure that these laws that is obtainable globally is being domesticated in the country? What do you think can be done at the state level? What do you think the federal lawmakers, the state lawmakers can do to encourage these laws? So when it's a law, then it becomes a norm.
The laws, we need to advocate that the law be domesticated. When it is domesticated, because one thing that I know in Nigeria is that there are so many laws, but implementation is an issue. And there are so many contradictions between the federal law and also the national laws. And so law about humanity should not be in competition with each other. We need to harmonize our laws. That will be able to embrace issues of human rights. I believe that women's rights are human rights, because what affects a mother affects her children. So it's the humans that are behind her that makes her right human right, because it encompasses everything. And so we need to continue, and also advocacy needs to be done at the highest level. If the law is in conflict with some other things, we should be able to bring about and then, go on advocacy. We can't but advocate and sensitize people. We need to bring in the government agencies, like the National Orientation Agency. What is happening? Maybe even some of the companies are not aware of the national laws, and they should be encouraged. I think when you are ignorant, you are not penalized so much, but when you are not, I think sharing of that knowledge with both male and female, you have to do it on two fronts. We need to share with ourselves. Even women need to be educated on some of the issues. There are some women bosses that react so negatively to a woman who is pregnant, or who is, who cannot understand her body. Because sometimes when you are pregnant, you can't understand your body. Your body is in crisis because a child, there is a life that is coming to being in your body, and they are different. Every pregnancy is different. One can make you really uncomfortable. Some will make you comfortable. And so we are not the same. So we have female bosses that are not sensitive to women's issues. And so we need to educate the female, and also the male that are not sensitive. We have some men that are even more sensitive on women's issues than women.
Finally, there's a great concern in the labor sector and in the political circle. We have lots of labor leaders, but majority of them are men. What can be done, or what are your observations? Is it that we don't have much women ready to take up this position, be it in the labor circle or when it comes to politics?
I think for the women, you know, the movement itself, you have some of the unions that there are a lot of women. You have some of the unions that the women are not many. And there is need for a lot of sensitization of the women. There is need for the quota system. I believe in going for something as a woman, or, you know, I look at it as human beings. But history has taught me that the Federal Character Commission, which was created, is meant to have the imbalance, you know, help the imbalance of decision-making content of the population. That's why that was made. And we need to be able to look at that. And in creating that, I think Rwanda made deliberate efforts in order to bring in, you know, a quota system for the women. They allocated a number, you know, for the parliament to ensure that voices of women are heard. But of course, sometimes they do this by apologetic ways in terms of, okay, let's just give them. And then the appointments may not be quality people. But what we are seeing is that Nigeria today, you have women in all over. Almost all the profession. Today you have women. You have them in the army, you have them in the navy, you have them everywhere. And so if you really want to make choices, you should be able to make choices. And encouraging them would mean that you have to step out. It is not right that you have 20 men in the room and there are only 2 women. They are not going to talk. Unless a woman who is so confident of herself, whatever you are saying, they will just admit and then they will sign the paper and go. But we can do better than that. We can help our community by being real. The position could be your daughter. It could be your sister. So if you don't care for the women today, we are not going to have that tomorrow. And so we are encouraging, the labor laws are there, but we also have the Nigeria Labour Congress have the policies, you know, gender policy that can help. And I think there are so many recommendations that are on ground that the labor constitution should also be adjusted. And we should encourage the country to adjust this as well so that we can move forward. You know, but we have to have the law backing, which is the basis of the advocacy.
It was an interesting conversation I had with you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.